Welcome to the News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching On Point with me. Rajouri encounter has shocked the entire nation. 4 men have been killed in action and 3 are seriously injured. Encounter is on. Operation has started. Lieutenant General Sandeep Jain, GOC 16 Corps, is in Poonch. So the question is, what really happened? And let me play out certain big questions for you. Because these are the issues which are at the heart of debate. So I'll come to the point. So the first question which I have in my mind is, has Poonch Rajouri sector has become a new theatre of terrorism? So why has Poonch Rajouri sector become a new theatre of terrorism? That's the big question. Now, terror attack in Valley have decreased but not in Jammu. Why? Why has that happened? Why has Pakistan changed its strategy post abrogation of Article 370? Why has that happened? And why have terrorists started to use old routes in Poonch and Rajouri sector? Something which used to take place in the 90s. This is not the Gulmarg route. And lastly, why are terrorists using cave hideouts all over again? And 50% of the terror activity accounted for has taken place in this Jammu sector. 20 security personnel has been killed in 2023. 28 terrorists have been neutralized. Civilians have also died. So why has this sector become so hot? Overground workers have been arrested. Why overground workers are an important component? We'll come to all of that, but let me play out the ground report for you before I go to Lieutenant General Shocking Chauhan.
24 घंटे से ज्यादा का वक्त हो चुका है। भारतीय सेना का आतंक के खिलाफ महा ऑपरेशन इस वक्त भी जारी है। दरअसल कल भारतीय सेना को ये सूचना मिली थी कि आतंकी इस तरफ यानी कि डेरा की गली के इन्हीं घने जंगलों में छुपे हुए हैं, जिसके लिए भारतीय सेना की तरफ से महा ऑपरेशन आतंक के खिलाफ चलाया गया था। और इसी ऑपरेशन के दौरान जब भारतीय सेना की रीइंफोर्समेंट टीम आती है तो उनकी 2 वाहनों पे आतंकियों की तरफ से फायरिंग की जाती है। वहीं भारतीय सेना की तरफ से भी रिटेलिएट किया जाता है, लेकिन भारतीय सेना के 4 जवान इस मुठभेड़ में शहीद हो जाते हैं, तो वहीं 3 जवानों का उपचार भारतीय सेना के हॉस्पिटल में चल रहा है। इनर कॉर्डन में अभी भी सेना के कई जवान जो है वो यहाँ पे इलाके को सैनिटाइज कर रहे हैं। इस इलाके की अगर आप स्थिति देखें तो यहाँ पर कई जगहों पे नेचुरल केव्स हैं, जिनको आतंकियों की तरफ से ज़्यादातर हाइडआउट की तरह इस्तेमाल किया जाता है ताकि हमारे सुरक्षा बलों की आंखों से वो बच सके। घने जंगल का इलाका है, डेंस फॉरेस्ट है, चुनौतियां बेहद ज़्यादा है, लेकिन उन कायर आतंकियों के लिए महा ऑपरेशन चलाया जा रहा है जिन्होंने इस तरीके की कायराना हरकत की। रजौरी और पुंछ के इलाके में आपको बता दें कि तकरीबन 28 से 30 आतंकी इस वक्त सक्रिय है। ज़्यादातर पाकिस्तानी आतंकी है जो अलग अलग ग्रुप में इन्हीं घने जंगलों के अंदर छुपे हुए हैं, जिनके लिए लगातार जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस, भारतीय सेना, सुरक्षा बल एंटी टेरर ऑपरेशन जो है वो चला रहे हैं। इस समय हम मौजूद है डेरा की गली में। यहाँ से कुछ ही दूरी पे जो कल आतंकियों के साथ मुठभेड़ हुई थी वो इलाका आता है। ये इलाका पूरी तरीके से सीज किया गया है और तस्वीरों में आप देख सकते हैं कि जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस के जवान, भारतीय सेना के जवान यहाँ पर तैनात हैं ताकि कोई भी सिविल मूवमेंट जो है वो यहाँ से आगे ना बढ़ सके।
So this is as far as our correspondent could reach. Anyone who has covered defense would understand that the entire area gets sealed off. So it's not really easy to go to ground zero. When we mean ground zero, he's reporting from the periphery of where the army has started the operation or the area that has been cordoned off. Because when you start an operation, it's not allowed for anyone to go near where the action is taking place. I'm joined by General Chauhan, sir. I'll come to the point straight away. Has the theatre of action shifted from Valley to Poonch and Rajouri, sir?
See, it's like this. It's very clear. The situation is that wherever the pressure is released, in that area, the terrorism shifts. It's like water. You have to actually put terrorism like the movement to water. If you're enforcing a particular place with a great deal of troops, terrorism will not occur there. But it will shift to a place where our troops are not there. As you know, many of our troops have moved to Ladakh. They have moved to a different area, and especially since the Rajouri Poonch area had been quiet for so long, we had moved out certain our troops from this area and moved them to the theater of operations with China, which is the reason probably the pressure has been relieved here, and this is why the terrorists have come from here. You were speaking about the issue that why has this theater come back again? It was the 90s, maybe the early 2000s that this area had. But that's the way the terrorism moves. That's the way our battle with Pakistan in this proxy war has been taking place over the last many years. That wherever you are moving troops out from in that area, you will have a movement of other places. The second issue is it's going to be winter soon. The first snowfalls have already come into Kashmir. The passes are about to be blocked. The Pakistanis want to shift as many terrorists as possible to keep the valley and the area of Jammu and Kashmir active, so that they are able to keep us occupied during winter. This is the main issue. It happens every year that in November, December, before the passes actually get blocked, the terrorists are shifted from Pakistan, so to fill the valley and to fill the area of Rajouri and Poonch. So this is an area we have to fight.
General Chauhan, there is a difference in the activity between the valley and this Rajouri, Poonch area, Thana Mandi,
area.
Yes. So 50% of the terror attacks have taken place here. Why has that happened? Has something changed?
Because no, nothing has changed. The fact is that we have more troops in the valley. And because there are troops in the valley, they found it very difficult to infiltrate from the valley. We've kept the valley quiet because there are greater amount of troops. But we had to move out certain troops from this Rajouri Poonch area. Karthik, you've got to understand that this kind of battle is a battle where you are continuously shifting based on the situation on the ground. For many years, this area was kept silent because of the number of troops we had. So because it was silent, we moved those troops. Now that it is happening, we'd probably move some troops from the valley to this place and inundate this area again and make sure that terrorism is blocked from entering into Rajouri Poonch area. You've seen the visuals that are coming out from your correspondent there. This is extremely difficult territory, extremely difficult mountains, extremely difficult jungles to operate, and you just can't find out what is happening there. And there are routes and routes and routes, regardless of the number of fences we might have. Terrorism they'll come through because it's like water. Wherever there's a lack of pressure, that water will flow through. So this is what I feel is happening at the moment. There's nothing to get worried about. We will deal with these people and this area since we will again get hold of this area, Karthik.
But this brings me to another question. Is it correct to say that the old routes have been reactivated? I would like to know from you why these routes have been reactivated.
Because Karthik, there's nothing called old routes and new routes. These are routes, and based on where they see the number of troops and where they see their ability to infiltrate, they will infiltrate. They must have sent someone earlier. They would have moved their people a little earlier, unarmed people, and they would have given back a report that this area we can come through. They have guides. Those guides continuously keep moving between the two areas. They have their own people inside. They have their overground workers inside who will tell them that, okay, in this area, the pressure is really less and you can bring in troops here. And that is how this movement takes place. It's not a battle you can win easily, Karthik. It's a battle of takes a long amount of time. Finally, you have to bring it to control through a lot of effort. And we had brought the area of Rajouri Poonch under control. But at no means did it ever end. And these routes continuously exist. These are passes through various jungle terrains, and they probably found a way in. So we will have to block those areas. I'm sure we'll bring some troops from either the Himachal Pradesh, or we will bring troops from the other part of the valley, which is quiet right now, to inundate this area and to deal with these issues. I don't think it's a major problem, Karthik. We'll be able to deal with it. But it's a great loss. Losing troops and losing soldiers anywhere is a great loss. And that's a major issue that we have to make sure that we are stable on ground, that we have the number of troops to deal with that area. I think the idea is, as there was an article I read a little while ago, but the idea is that probably Pakistan has been asked by China to release the pressure from the line of actual control and move and get our troops moving from there, so that they can create more problems for us in the winter or next year. So that's what I think is the larger game plan.
So are you saying that this? Are you suggesting that it can be a coordinated move?
Karthik, I have no doubt that Pakistan and China are acting in concert with each other. I have absolutely no doubt about it. They have been in concert with each other over the last 20, 30 years, and they are in concert even now. China must be finding that we have inundated the line of actual control with troops. We have mirrored their deployment. We have prevented them from doing anything in that in the area, and they may have asked China to release the pressure from the line of actual control and try and force India to get its troops back from there, or at least reduce the deployment that we have on the line of actual control. And it may be a game plan. I'm not very sure. But what I'm clear about, having commanded a brigade in the valley, having commanded my unit
you have said something very important. I would like to stay with that.
Every year.
General, you have said something very important. I would like to stay with that. You know, all the areas where geopolitical interests of these three countries are aligned, they are becoming hot. For example, the Gaza became hot, and the Red Sea corridor is hot because of the Houthis and Iranian proxies. The Ukraine border is hot. They have created the land corridor. The Taiwan sector is hot. I mean, so the Pakistan is a close ally of China. And if you say that, it means that you're talking about a sector becoming hot. I mean, say, for me as a journalist, it falls in a bigger picture. You're giving me a bigger picture.
Let me give you a larger picture. The area of Burma or Myanmar is hot. You're aware, Manipur has been activated. The Kukis and the Meiteis are in a problem with each other there. The number of insurgent groups inside Myanmar, Burma, are actually winning against the Burmese army, the Tatmadaw. It's creating a great amount of pressure on the Burmese army. Who could be behind it? We are aware about the kind of news reports saying that China has made a deal with the insurgent groups, and they are dealing with both sides of the spectrum. It's a very clear situation that they are going to activate every part to keep us occupied in every situation. Wherever our vulnerability is, Karthik, that vulnerability will be activated by China. And they will not lose the opportunity of creating a problem within our country, to make sure that our troops, in the northeast case, it's the Assam Rifles, to make sure that the Assam Rifles are not withdrawn from the insurgency and taken to the line of actual control in Arunachal. So these are issues. They are clear geopolitical tools that are being used by China and by Pakistan to keep India to box India into a particular place. I have just no doubt about it. And it's not that I'm finding ghosts inside, places. I'm quite clear, and I've been saying it again and again and again, that these are our vulnerabilities. And when you have vulnerabilities, you have to deal with vulnerabilities in a different manner. You've seen what is happening in Burma. You've seen how the situation in Burma is affecting the Northeast. You've seen how the Tatmadaw is losing to certain insurgent groups. Those reports are also coming out from Burma that China is helping both the insurgent groups and Burmese army.
Absolutely. I think
so. This is how they are creating this problem. And if they're creating this problem in Thana Mandi, they're creating this problem. These are, like I said, you moment to put a pinprick there and you put water into a plastic bottle and you create one pinprick, water is going to flow in. That's how terrorism functions.
Absolutely.
You release one pressure from somewhere else. That is how terrorism is going to happen.
Absolutely,
So
sir.
our idea is
Absolutely.
not just putting, a tape at every hole, but our idea is to actually destroy this terrorism. And in the end, it has to be the people
Okay.
don't get involved in terrorism. That's the main thing. The people are the center of gravity of both insurgency and terrorism. It's the people.
Okay. I'm really falling
And
short of
those are
time,
the people
General
we have to
Chauhan.
have on our side.
Absolutely, I'm really falling short of time, but I think that was spot on. To have this big picture, because people just think that it's this Rajouri sector, this is Akhnur sector, this is Poonch sector, but there's a larger picture. These are the global pinpricks, and we just don't have one hot border. Now India today has 3 hot borders. We have a hot border when it comes to Pakistan. There's a hot border when it comes to China, and after ages, Northeast has also become a hot border where
Absolutely.
foreign fighters are being dealt with. But it's time for a short break. But before I get into the break, dive into unparalleled financial wisdom with Money9, the ultimate app to decode finance and real-time pocket cash. Get a hold of your financial journey starting now.
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए, और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही सुपर ऐप पर। पैसे का सवाल है तो जवाब है Money9। आजादी पैसे की, अभी डाउनलोड करें।
So it's not a small incident that took place in Kashmir. If you look at the larger rubric, there's a big picture, and the big picture is that India is dealing with 3 hot borders. But then Poonch, Rajouri, Akhnur sectors are also very distinct. The attack which took place on our army men led to 4 casualties and 3 people are seriously injured. A lot of people spoke about it, but I'll just play one political reaction for on this for you from former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir. Then we go to our subject matter expert, General Sivaj.
सबसे पहले तो रजौरी पुंछ में जो हमारे फौज के जवान शहीद हुए हैं, उनके परिवार के जितने भी लोग हैं, उनके साथ हम अपनी पूरी सहानुभूति रखते हैं। और देश का इतना नुकसान हुआ, उस पर बहुत ही अफसोस और साथ ही एक चिंता भी है। पिछले कई सालों से ग्रेजुअली, आहिस्ता आहिस्ता हमारी स्टेट में मिलिटेंसी तकरीबन 3 दशकों के बाद खत्म हो गई थी, और हम सब सोचते थे कि अब एक नई जिंदगी शुरू करेंगे। बहुत कुछ खोया स्टेट ने इन सालों में, इन दशकों में। जाने में भी बहुत खोई, नौजवान खोए, बुजुर्ग खोए, सीनियर लीडर्स खोए, हर फील्ड के लोग, प्रोफेसर खोए, वाइस चांसलर खोए, और जिसकी वजह से हमारा स्टेट जो है 50-60 साल पीछे चला गया।
I'm joined by General Sivaj. Thank you, sir, for joining me. And on point today is about the encounter which is on and the ambush which took place on Thursday. But my question is, why Poonch and Rajouri sectors are so different from Valley?
Very correct. Kartik, now one has to understand the complete topography of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, the area which is Poonch and Rajouri, this is south of Pir Panjal. This is heavily densed, and there are mountains. There are natural caves there, and this is very close to line of control. And the area, whenever the infiltration has to take place in Kashmir Valley, then there are 2 routes. One is that they have to go through basically Shamshabadi, starting from Gurez sector, Matsal sector, Karen sector, Tangdhar sector, and then come to your basically Gulmarg sector. But there is another route which is coming from Rajouri Poonch. You cross the LC, cross the Pir Panjal, and then come to the valley. Now, what was happening is, as far as Rajouri Poonch are concerned, from 2000 to 2021, the peace has prevailed there, and it looks like that terrorism is no more existent in, especially in Poonch, Rajouri, Surankot, Thana Mandi area, and therefore it was looking as if this is a terror-free area. But then what has happened is once Galwan took place and once three divisions were brought by the Chinese in Ladakh sector, then this area, since the peace has prevailed there and normalcy has come in, the troops were also moved out from here to go to basically eastern Ladakh. And the troops became less. Now, shift your focus in Kashmir Valley. In Kashmir Valley, what has happened in last about 2 years, especially after Article 370 and 35A has been abrogated, their counter-infiltration grid has been very, very strong and stable. And so is the counter-terrorism grid. There the normalcy has come. All your stone throwing is now, habit of a past. The NIA had choked the money which was coming from ISI to Hurriyat. There is no stone throwing. Grassroots level democracy has taken place by Panchayat election and district development council election. Tourism is record time. The IM Medical College, Engineering College, number of roads, railways have come. And also the radicalization which was taking place in South Kashmir, there is quite a bit drop in that. So the complete environment in Jammu and Kashmir valley is that as on today, there are only 50 to 60 residual terrorists left, when it used to be almost about more than 250 in just about 3-4 years back. And the leadership of Lashkar-e-Toba, Jaise Mujahideen Mujahideen, has been wiped off, and there are shortage of weapon ammunition. Considering what is happening in Kashmir Valley, and if Pakistan thought that now the situation is totally become normal, they have activated this Poonch Rajouri area, because Poonch Rajouri area is very close to the LC. Here also, that since the heights are less, the snowfall does not take place in winter. So the infiltration can also take place in winter. Now, as far as
these are all weather routes. Basically, you are saying that these routes can be operated all through the year.
Absolutely, they can be operated all through the year. And earlier, the terrorists were not using these routes because they could infiltrate in Kashmir Valley through Shamshabadi itself, north of Pir Panjal. Since now north of Pir Panjal become very, very difficult, now they have activated this area. Now this area has also 2-3 more peculiarity. There are Gujars here in Poonch Rajouri, and they have been always pro-India, and they have been always staunch Indians, and a lot of footprints are there also in Indian Army, whether it is Home and Earth Territorial Army, which I was the head for about 2.5 years, or by also in Indian Army. So you always saw that the militancy had not flourished in this area, but in last 2-3 years, it has surprised Indian Army that the way things are happening, that the whole area has become very active. Now this area has got some advantage to the terrorists. One is it is forested area. It is the visibility is very poor, not high altitude, but mountains are of a semi heights. There are natural caves there, and therefore the terrorists can hide. And earlier they used to be dependent on the villagers for sustenance and logistics. Now there is no more requirement. They stock there in.
So this is the reason why I'm very happy, sir. You actually you hit the nail on its head. This is part of the questions I asked at the start of my program. Why are these terrorists using caves? So you are saying that they lack logistical support. It is for this reason they are using those hideouts.
Absolutely. See, what happened is that the moment they are dependent on the villagers for sustenance, their logistic line becomes long, and the chances of they being detected become very high. What they are doing is, since these natural caves are there, they have stocked the natural caves in terms of weapons, ammunition, and logistics. What they need, as far as the villagers are concerned, they need intelligence regarding the security forces. Also, in case some material in terms of weapon ammunition is sent through the drones, by the ISI that these basically overground workers and sleeper cell are used to get these weapons and ammunition to that. So therefore, the point today is they are attracting you in the mountains and hills where they know the area better, and that as far as the security forces is concerned, you are at disadvantage. Second thing is they also have got complete knowledge of you because they are using this overground worker and sleeper cell, and they are keeping an eye. So what has happened in last 2-3 years, that the ground support has also come to these terrorists, and there are OGW which is checking. As on today, there are 25 to 30 hardcore terrorists which were trained in Afghanistan, which were there when they were fighting against the Americans. Since now Taliban has taken over, these terrorists have shifted in POJK. They are available. They are equipped with all American weapons. M4 is the weapon they are using now. M16 is another weapon. So the point is, one, that they have got caches and caves. They are operating in this mountainous area which is forested. Also, that they get support from the villager in terms of recce and intelligence, and they are as on today able to operate. And in last 2 years, the casualty which the Indian army has suffered, unfortunately, is about 20-25, which is a very large. We are not getting any sort of casualties in Valley now. Maybe very few due to our sometime mistake committed by us or situation out of it. But in Rajouri, Poonch area, the operation which had taken place in last about 1 year especially, we have lost almost about 15-20 of Jawans. And the question to ponder is also young officers of also of special forces. So overall, I will say that this is a cause of concern as far as Indian Army concerned.
Correct.
Though we have controlled Kashmir Valley to a very high this thing, as on today we can say things are normal in Kashmir Valley, but this area has all of a sudden got activated, and we have to now change our strategy and tactics. How do we handle this, the terrorism within this in Poonch, Rajouri? Also, how do we respond to Pakistan, which is the one which is sending? And is it Pakistan only, or the China hand is also there? Because China is interested that you activate this area and you make sure
so that the pressure can be taken off from the LAC.
Bring the troops from Ladakh.
Yes.
Ladakh, they are having a now pinch because Indian troops are better trained, more motivated, and hence the Chinese are feeling uncomfortable.
But you know, there is
Pakistan
a point.
is creating a problem here.
There is a point you have raised, and I think that's the point I'm going to explore further. And that point is overground workers. The population in Poonch and Rajouri is far more heterogeneous than the valley. It's far more mixed than the valley and more unevenly spread than the valley. So despite that, you have overground workers, which in parlance is said OGC. Why has that happened in Rajouri Poonch sector? But after a short break.
Since the last 2 years, Khalistani terror groups are threatening Indian diplomats in Canada, US, UK and Australia. Investigations of these threats led us to the first ever abduction and killing of an Indian diplomat, Ravindra Matre, in UK's Birmingham in 1984. Our months-long investigation finally led us to the murderer of Ravindra Matre, who has been hiding in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir for the last 40 years. Watch our exclusive documentary, Murder of an Indian Diplomat, where we reveal the man who killed Ravindra Matre.
Stop searching, start streaming. Download the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
scale of the attack was something that we were surprised at. David Hadley was a double agent. The Americans did not want him to be fully exposed, so all that he probably shared with the Americans was not shared with us in terms of intelligence. If we had that, I'm sure that we would have been able to deal with the situation far better.
This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. Basically, that US markets has slowed down because of high inflation.
So obviously, diamonds being a dream product, something which doesn't have a utility value or is seen as a luxury. So that obviously goes off your shopping list. That's the first item that will go off your shopping list, especially in recessionary trends.
That lab-grown diamonds are not mined, and they do away with the entire mining. So they save up on all the environmental damage that is associated with mining, and of course, the mining cost, which is why they're even more affordable.
People that is impacted by all these recessions are the artisans, are the people who work in this industry, right? But I think lab-grown diamond has allowed them to actually use their skills in the same product.
This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Welcome back on Point, and we are talking about how an operation has started in this area where 4 Indian Army men and 3 were injured in an ambush which can be called an opportunity ambush by the terrorists. So before I go to my guest, Major General S.B. Asthana, let me play out a ground report for you from my reporter who is reporting from Thana Mandi in Bufliaz area.
24 घंटे से ज़्यादा का वक्त हो चुका है। भारतीय सेना का आतंक के खिलाफ महा ऑपरेशन इस वक्त भी जारी है। दरअसल कल भारतीय सेना को ये सूचना मिली थी कि आतंकी इस तरफ यानी कि डेरा की गली के इन्हीं घने जंगलों में छुपे हुए हैं, जिसके लिए भारतीय सेना की तरफ से महा ऑपरेशन आतंक के खिलाफ चलाया गया था। और इसी ऑपरेशन के दौरान जब भारतीय सेना की रीइंफोर्समेंट टीम आती है तो उनकी 2 वाहनों पे आतंकियों की तरफ से फायरिंग की जाती है। वहीं भारतीय सेना की तरफ से भी रिटेलिएट किया जाता है, लेकिन भारतीय सेना के 4 जवान इस मुठभेड़ में शहीद हो जाते हैं, तो वहीं 3 जवानों का उपचार भारतीय सेना के हॉस्पिटल में चल रहा है। इनर कॉर्डन में अभी भी सेना के कई जवान जो है वो यहाँ पे इलाके को सैनिटाइज कर रहे हैं। इस इलाके की अगर आप स्थिति देखें तो यहाँ पर कई जगहों पे नेचुरल केव्स हैं जिनको आतंकियों की तरफ से ज़्यादातर हाइडआउट की तरह इस्तेमाल किया जाता है ताकि हमारे सुरक्षा बलों की आंखों से वो बच सके। घने जंगल का इलाका है, डेंस फॉरेस्ट है, चुनौतियां बेहद ज़्यादा है, लेकिन उन कायर आतंकियों के लिए महा ऑपरेशन चलाया जा रहा है जिन्होंने इस तरीके की कायराना हरकत की। रजौरी और पुंछ के इलाके में आपको बता दें कि तकरीबन 28 से 30 आतंकी इस वक्त सक्रिय है। ज़्यादातर पाकिस्तानी आतंकी है जो अलग अलग ग्रुप में इन्हीं घने जंगलों के अंदर छुपे हुए हैं, जिनके लिए लगातार जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस, भारतीय सेना, सुरक्षा बल एंटी टेरर ऑपरेशन जो है वो चला रहे हैं। इस समय हम मौजूद है डेरा की गली में। यहाँ से कुछ ही दूरी पे जो कल आतंकियों के साथ मुठभेड़ हुई थी वो इलाका आता है। ये इलाका पूरी तरीके से सीज किया गया है और तस्वीरों में आप देख सकते हैं कि जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस के जवान, भारतीय सेना के जवान यहाँ पर तैनात हैं ताकि कोई भी सिविल मूवमेंट जो है वो यहाँ से आगे ना बढ़ सके।
And I'm joined by Major General S.B. Asthana, former DG Infantry. Sir, a very warm welcome to you on my show On Point. This sector has become hot. many people would say that this has become hot because maybe the troops are thin or China is trying to ease pressure off its LAC. But there is also a micro part of it, sir. And the micro part of it is that suddenly we are once again talking about the overground workers. So in an area where 50% of the population is not a minority population, if you then have an overground worker, what does it tell us? Because on one point, these terrorists are not getting logistics. They are staying in the caves. But on the other hand, overground workers are there and people are being detained. What is it telling us, sir?
Firstly, before I answer your question, my salute to all the soldiers who have fallen in line of duty and made the supreme sacrifice, and also a good luck to all the injured persons for speedy recovery. Now, the question which you asked, let me put it this way, that when we had the troop density and the CT grid very strong in Kashmir, the Pakistanis have tried to exploit the area of Poonch Rajouri, which was till then not that active. So in that context, what they have done is, they know the population composition there, as you rightly mentioned, and if they need some support, because for a terrorist operation, obviously you need local support and you need population support. So therefore, what could have been done is that some of the OGWs who were finding it difficult under the scanner of the NIA and other agencies, as well as the local police in Kashmir, may have shifted to this area. That's one part of it. Secondly, the lurement of money is something which can have targets anywhere, and therefore you could create some kind of OGWs in some manner. But notwithstanding that, the support to terrorists in this area will continue to remain limited. They have been able to exploit this area because of the perhaps lower troop density in comparison to Kashmir Valley, which used to happen about a couple of months back. Now I think the Indian Army has and all security forces have been cautioned adequately, and they are also increasing the troop density in this area as well. So notwithstanding that, apparently the people who have recently migrated from Kashmir Valley to Jammu, they should also perhaps be put on scanner, because some answer to your question may lie there.
And this shift has happened post 370, abrogation of 370, that's also significant?
Yes, see, the abrogation of 370 is significant because of the Supreme Court decision. Obviously, there is a fresh disgruntlement which Pakistanis want to show, and they also want to show that no, all is not normal as the government of India is claiming to be. So therefore, a little bit of hike in the terror incident can perhaps support their narrative, and that's why there is a desperate push to cause some kind of terror incident, although they themselves in their own homeland are having fair amount of troubles as far as terrorism is concerned by TTP and other factors. So yes, it could be linked to a show of strength of terrorists post the Supreme Court decision in some manner.
It's a technical question, sir, but I would really like to know, road opening parties, to secure the roads, you need men. But then when they become sitting ducks because of prior intelligence available, what is one supposed to do? Because you need to send the men to clear the road. Roads are required for the movement of the army. But when they become vulnerable in such stretches, what do you do? How do you protect those who are there to open the road, clear the road, or to facilitate movement of other troops?
For this, in fact, I will have to get down to the nitty-gritty in a manner that when the road opening is done, it's not only the people who are there on the road. The concerned unit or subunit will also analyze as to which are the areas which dominate those areas where the troops have to be. And wherever the troops are, they should also be in a place where they can defend themselves. Similarly, those heights from where those troops are visible or those troops could be attacked, those heights also need to be need to be kept and need to be held. So this is the kind of road opening which has to be a little more comprehensive, and that's why it's very costly in terms of troops deployment and quite taxing also because of that's why we have road timings, and we don't generally move military convoys beyond those timings so that the troops fatigue also gets reduced. But certainly all precautions need to be taken, and when these incidents take place, let me also put it in a strategic framework that see, on any particular day the terrorists can have their day and they could be lucky, and when we are launching these operations there could be a particular day when our troops are not that lucky, but notwithstanding that, when we see how the situation is over a period, then a bigger time frame and scan is taken. So if we see the number of terror incidents have reduced, if we see the number of soldiers killed have been reduced, the number of terrorists who are physically operating has been also reduced quite a bit, and the recruitments, their shelf life has reduced. Now that is a very important factor which I would say which happened in Kashmir. In Kashmir, the situation was that almost about 50 to 60% of the newly recruited terrorists, they were killed within 1 year, and few within months. So therefore, this was due to very good intelligence network and very high density of the counter-terror grid. Now, I think in this area also, once we develop this kind of intelligence, because as you rightly mentioned, the terrorists are dependent on the local population for logistics, intelligence, etc., etc. Same is the case with us also. We are also dependent on the local population for all the intelligence and local police and everybody else.
There's a minute left in this program, but I need to ask this question to you. All lives are equal, sir. All lives are equal. But there's also a raging debate in circles that our officers are getting targeted. I mean, so there's no difference between the life of a Jawan and the life of an officer. All lives are equal. But are officers getting killed in theatre? How do you see this, I
see it as a positive sign. In India, in Indian Army, officers lead from the front, and therefore you will find that young officers' casualties are highest in the world in proportion to the troops, and we are very proud of this fact that our officers are leading from the front. So this is not a weakness, this is a strength of Indian Army, and this must be taken as such, because it's not that in army the dictum is mere piche move, and not the other way around, that officers are sitting behind or trying to hide themselves or protect themselves. No, that's not the case. So this is a positive trend. I'm not disturbed with this trend.
You're not disturbed with this trend. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me on my show and explaining the various facets of the counter-insurgency operation and why and what needs to be done when it comes to securing the troops, what needs to be done when troops move to open new areas for the army. But the fact of the matter is that the post-370, the theatre has shifted. And when I say theatre has shifted, it's become very difficult for the terrorists to act in areas north of Pir Panjal. They are acting in south of Pir Panjal, which is Akhnur, which is Poonch, which is Rajouri sector. And it is for this reason we find higher casualties in this area. The terrain is very, very difficult. Routes are open all through the year. There are parts which are closed in winters, but there are parts which are not closed in winters in this sector. And then the presence of overground workers add to the complexity of the situation. It complicates it further. But before I let go of you, I leave you with a documentary made by a sister concern on Maratha community. Agitations have been part of the Indian political culture. But of late, in the last 25 years, because of reduced government power in context of jobs, the reservation has become a war cry for many communities. Now, the Marathas want to be included in the OBC list. They have set a deadline of January 2nd, 2024 for the government to fulfill their demand. This agitation is likely to change the political discourse in the most industrialized.
Those who are economically backwards from any community should be given, you can say, that kind of a, you can say, reservation. Not everybody.
This all is bluff, all is nonsense. After 2nd January, I doubt there may be a violence. You are taking money.